We floated silently in the observation module, watching Earth fracture below us. The blue orb turned gray with plumes of smoke. Fire bloomed across continents, lighting up the darkness of space. My radio crackled and I jumped, though I shouldn't have. Tensions between the US and Russia had been growing for months. I felt like a fool for hoping that diplomacy would prevail. "Parker, this is Houston. Confirm secure channel." I toggled the comm. "Copy, Houston." There was a pause. A pregnant, suffocating pause. "The President has authorized strategic countermeasures. Nuclear strikes are in progress. Your orders are to secure the station." "Understood," I replied, but I didn't. Secure it from what? My gut twisted when the second message came. "Cole, eliminate Commander Ivanov. He's a threat to U.S. assets in orbit. You are authorized to use any means necessary." I turned slowly. Across the station, Commander Dmitri Ivanov, my crewmate of 6 months, my chess partner, the man who'd shared countless stories about his daughter in St. Petersburg, was staring out at the same hellish view of Earth. Did he know?
"Dmitri, this is Roscosmos Command. Do you copy?" My hand trembled as I held the receiver. "Loud and clear. Hostilities have escalated. We have launched. The Americans will retaliate." The silence that followed felt like a death sentence. "And Parker?" I asked, though I knew the answer before they spoke. "He is no longer your ally. Neutralize him. Ensure the Americans do not gain control of the ISS." Neutralize him. I stared across the station at Parker. His jaw was tight, his shoulders stiff, his eyes darting to me as though trying to read my thoughts. I wondered if he'd already received similar instructions.
The station felt too small now. Its metallic walls echoed every movement, every breath. The hum of the life support systems, once a comforting backdrop, now felt like the droning of a death knell. We danced around each other in silence for hours, pretending nothing had changed. But it had. Every glance was loaded, every movement calculated. I checked the toolbox twice, ensuring the wrench I kept there was within easy reach. I had spent longer than necessary in the galley where the emergency knife was stored. The silence was unbearable. My mind replayed Houston's message until the words didn't sound real anymore. Dmitri and I had worked side by side for months, trusting each other with our lives. Now, I couldn't look at him without imagining his hands around my throat or my own hands around his. "Cole," his voice startled me. I turned to find him holding a chessboard, the same one we'd used every week to pass the long hours. "A final game." I hesitated. Was this a trap? His face betrayed nothing. Slowly, I nodded. We floated to the table. He set up the pieces with steady hands, but his eyes flicked to the tool belt at my hip. I mirrored his glance, noticing the small screwdriver clipped to his pocket.
The game began, but my mind was elsewhere. Each move felt like a dance around an unspoken truth. The earth outside was a ruin now, its beauty obscured by fire and ash. My daughter's face flashed in my mind. Was she alive? Was anyone? Cole's hand hovered over a bishop. I watched the tension in his fingers, the way his breath hitched. He was stalling, thinking. About the game or about how he'd do it. I made the next move, a bold one. He blinked, surprised, and for a moment the tension cracked. "Your daughter," Cole said softly. "What's her name?"
We talked about our families, about Earth. It felt surreal, sharing stories while knowing we were waiting for the moment one of us would make the first move. The station creaked as it orbited, its sounds amplified by the vacuum of our fear. I excused myself to check the oxygen system, but really, I was scouting. I passed the hatch to the storage module and hesitated. Dmitri had been in there earlier. Had he set a trap? When I returned, he was gone. My heart raced. I grabbed the knife from the galley and tucked it into my jumpsuit. "Dmitri?" I called.
I hid in the airlock, watching Parker move through the station. His posture had changed. He was hunting now. My fingers closed around the wrench in my pocket. This wasn't survival. This was war, waged between two men who should have been brothers.
The confrontation came in the observation module. I found Dmitri first, the knife in his hand trembling as much as his voice. "We don't have to do this." Dmitri's response was a swing of the wrench. I dodged, slamming into the control panel. Alarms blared. The station's automated system screamed warnings about a breach, a malfunction, a nightmare in progress. We grappled in zero gravity, our movements clumsy and brutal. My knife found flesh first, slicing Dmitri's arm. Dmitri roared and swung the wrench again, catching my shoulder. Blood droplets hung in the air like stars. It ended in the airlock. Dmitri, weakened and bleeding, made one last attempt to push me into the void. But I was faster. With a desperate shove, I sent Dmitri tumbling back, the hatch sealed. I floated in silence, staring at the empty airlock. Dmitri's blood still hung in the cabin, tiny red planets orbiting my shaking hands. Houston's signal was gone. The earth below was dark. I was alone. The station hummed around me, a cold and unfeeling machine. I thought of Dmitri's daughter, of my own family. Did they even exist anymore? The stars outside seemed closer now, their light cruel and indifferent. I was alive, but I wasn't sure it mattered.